Good evening, everybody. It is 10:15. Punch in and welcome to NXT Night Shift. I am 1/3 of the Indie Wrestling Guide podcast, JGold, and with me, now and forever, like cats at the Winter Garden Theater, the host of the On the Mark podcast. It is Mr. OTM, Kyle. So, when Kyle asked me to do this show, I asked my wife, and she said, who wouldn't want to fall asleep listening to your stupid voice? And I said, excellent point. Let's fucking go. Let's fire up the old analog TV antenna. Let's tune into WPIX in New York, and whatever grainy station comes in Indiana. It is my understanding that Kyle watches NXT on the backside of a milk silo. We are on the road to WrestleMania 41 in a self-driving Model 3 through the desert and eventually into Sin City. It is NXT Night Shift. Kyle, thank you. What the fuck is going on, brother? Let's go.
Oh, man. Let's fucking go indeed. I feel like we're saying that a lot, but it's exciting times over here at the Main Event Wrestling Network. Obviously, as you said, you are 1/3 of IWGuide. I am 1/3 of OTM. And we're making magic happen every single Tuesday night live after NXT. I couldn't be more excited to do it alongside of you, my friend.
Yes, sir. And I have been telling everybody, get yourself a drink, maybe a nice warm milk. It's nighttime. It's 10:15. My prostate medicine is already wearing off, and we are
I didn't need to know that information.
Yeah, we are getting ready for the NXT Roadblock from the theater at MSG. And I sent Kyle a picture on the way home today as I am walking back to MSG from my office.
Jealous.
The trucks were outside. The filming was going on, and it couldn't be a better place for them to do it. So I was going to say, to start off, that venue is very cool. AEW is starting to do stuff at smaller venues. NXT is starting to do stuff at these off venues that don't have to be, giant arenas and giant things. So I love the way it looked. I love the theater at MSG. When you come to New York, the theater at MSG hosts a lot of really good podcasts and stand-up comedy, and like Kill Tony and all these guys are out, doing their thing at the theater at MSG. I think Bill Burr has been there. He does the main stage now, but it is a great venue. What'd you think of the way it looked?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely unique, and I honestly didn't even know that MSG had a theater. Is it attached to it, or is it just a part of the building?
No, it's just a part of the building. I think it probably fits, 7,000. If MSG holds 14 for a Nick and Ranger game, then I think you'll get about 7 inside the theater.
Right. So, I mean, I like what you were saying in comparison to AEW, and that's something that I was critiquing AEW for the longest time, is because it just didn't feel right. The audio wasn't great during their shows. The crowd seemed like it was dead. And that's what the opposite of the vibe I got from NXT Roadblock in the theater, because the acoustics in there were perfect. I thought it was a high energy crowd. And honestly, you can't go wrong doing a big show at MSG. The crowd's going to show up. And yeah, I think everything was looking great tonight.
And for people who might know the building, my brother just texted in for tonight. So I say what's up to Sam and my niece and nephew who are watching. It used to be the Felt Forum. If anybody wants to know, WWF ran there in the old days. It was the old Felt Forum. So if you look it up online, you'll see Howard Finkel announcing from there. And it was in WWF ran there for many years before they went into the main building. So for the crew who wants to know about a little history over at MSG. So I personally was excited for this card. I know you were. There was a few questions I got confused halfway through about some of the stipulations, but they could not have started off better than with the Hardys and Fraxium. And for our boy Tino, who loves the Hardys, it couldn't have been a better way to set off the night than that match.
Yeah, that they picked the right one to open up the show when the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," before anything even started. Those teams did not even touch at that point. That's how excited people were to see the Hardys and Fraxium. And I said this in our predictions video at NXT Night Shift on X, by the way, if you want to check that out, that I thought Fraxium actually had a legitimate chance to win this matchup. I thought the reason that they put the TNA titles on the line was to finally get that switch. But I don't think it really mattered because, it still was a fantastic way to kick off the show. I mean, Fraxium makes everything look so effortless in the ring. Their continuity, their chemistry is off the charts. And even though the Hardys retained, they did tease us a little bit too, JGold, as Axiom took out Nathan Frazier. So I don't know if Fraxium is fine, but I'm not ready to see their split. I don't know about you.
I like the Fraxium is fine thing that's online. People,
Yeah.
I think that's fun. Look, the Hardy Boys. I can't. So I am not a Hardy Boys guy from like the beginning. I was a Dudleys, I was Edge and Christian, but mainly the Dudleys. I wanted the Dudleys to have every bit of gold when I was growing up, because ECW I am a loyalist to ECW. So the Hardys, the stuff the Hardys did was amazing. Unfortunately, the way I feel about Matt Hardy, just kind of doing what he does and getting up and kind of limping around is, oh, thanks a lot there. My own podcast talking all sorts of trash.
I was going to say, there's Butters in the chat.
Thank you very
is
much.
The Sean Spears of the Main Event Network.
You know what? He's married to
You're
a hot
champion.
chick.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you're a champion.
And a champion. And he and tonight, Matt Hardy kind of limping around is one thing. I am always amazed that Jeff Hardy pulls it together and puts on what he does, and the fans go bonkers. They literally go bonkers for every move that those guys do.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
And at the age that they're at right now, and they're still getting the support from everyone. And it's not like just a nostalgia run either. Like, they are legit the faces of the TNA tag division right now. So them coming in and just working this program with Fraxium is only going to elevate Fraxium to the next level.
And I mean, God bless them. Like, they honestly, everything they
That's
do.
What he's saying.
Yeah, I get it. I got it the first fucking time you said it.
Mike,
listen.
we cannot start over. Sorry. You're late, buddy. I'm surprised you're still up. I know he's a little older too.
He is
Shots
too.
fired.
Him and I, I think he said who did he work for? Ring of Honor?
Oh, did he? I must
Mike
have missed that.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have to talk about the Brahma Bull tramp stamp, please.
Oh,
if you are a loyal listener to the show, and one day I'll do it on the show. I do have the Brahma Bull as a tramp stamp on my lower back from 1999. Real. It's real. Yeah.
Oh man,
no
I feel like we got to set up a Patreon for that and make. People
they listen.
Money.
I will just show it. But they those days are House of Glory. That's right, Mike. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. So it did come during the old Attitude era. It was my first tattoo. And it was something.
I can't believe that.
Yeah,
I can't believe you did that. I don't have any tattoos, and if I were to get a tattoo, it probably would be wrestling related. But that choice, and what
it
year?
was
1999.
1999. That's correct. It was a.
I was 6 years old, by the way. 6 years old.
Yeah, I was 19, and thanks for rubbing that in. And it was. I was on St. Mark's Place in the city on a day off as a camp counselor. And me and the crew stayed in St. Mark's Place. I found a tattoo parlor, and I went in and I went, give me the Brahma Bull. I wanted it. I cut it out of a poster, and it's about this big, and it's on my lower back. And I do love it. It's one of many I got, and I do love it. And I think that I have no regrets, and I don't mind showing it.
No regrets.
That's right. That's right. And it looks great still. It doesn't get out in the sun that often.
Just don't lose a lot of weight, because I feel like if you lost a lot of weight or put on a lot of weight, it would start to transform.
It'll start to look like the one Rock has on his arm now, just like all drawn down, that way.
But that might be all the steroids that are making that.
Yeah, sorry, that's Rock. Why you had to change it. But yeah, so the Hardys just did everything right, and the match was that was the exact right way to kick off this show. If you wanted to get the fans in a frenzy, that's exactly how you do it. So
do you think Fraxium's going to be splitting very soon, or you think that was just a little tease?
Nothing. No, it was a tease, and I think it's going to be months. I would say SummerSlam, if anything. I don't think they're going to move anywhere to. I don't think they're going to go anywhere to a WrestleMania. They have a Stand to Deliver coming. There's going to be something big for them, maybe a ladder match,
Yeah, and it feels like the main roster already has kind of a plan of where they're going with the tag team division right now. At least I think SmackDown's probably going to be setting up a multi-team kind of match.
Yeah.
And on Raw, I would assume Viking Raiders and the New Day. So I don't really see where Fraxium fits. So that's why I was kind of curious on where.
Yeah, that's why I think keep it at Stand and Deliver. They're all doing the same thing in Vegas anyway. Oh, there he is, Ronnie Two Legs. What's up, buddy? thank you for listening and watching. We got the crew coming on. It's good stuff. These are the guys who stay up late.
Hey, he's on YouTube too. So guys, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we are on the road to 100 subscribers. Currently sit at 58. We're getting there.
Yeah, and we'll get there. I think this show will be. This is where we're gonna get. We're gonna start tacking on our listeners and our viewers. Come on! I got this from Dom on Sunday, and he didn't hurt me.
I was gonna say you did flinch.
Yeah, yes, I did. I thought he was really gonna hit me because he has before.
To be fair, I would be scared of Dom too, so I don't blame you there.
Terrifying bastard. So let's get on to the next one. One of, as I called it, the four horsemen of Shawn Michaels, the Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne Perez match. I am a little confused as to who this was supposed to help, right? Like, was this supposed, like, Roxanne is a Raw or SmackDown talent now. Jordynne Grace, yes. Does she need it over Roxanne? Probably not.
I would say she does.
Over Roxanne? I mean, she's already established.
Early, she is established, but Roxanne's on her way out. And I think I saw a lot of people online getting mad about it too. They're like, oh, this is how they're going to treat Roxanne before she gets called up to the main roster. They've done this before with plenty of NXT champions in the past. That doesn't mean they're burying her. She's just on her way out, so she's going to elevate the next group of talent. And Jordynne Grace is the new kid on the block, so I think Jordynne desperately needed to win this match.
I just think that he loves her. Like, you could just tell Shawn Michaels wants Jordynne Grace to be like the Scott Steiner of the women's division. He's dying for that siren to catch on when Jordynne Grace comes out. He's dying for it.
It still hasn't caught on for me, brother.
Right.
Not doing it for me.
No, and I'm not a huge. I think I'm not a huge fan, but I also can understand the why people like her as far as that goes, and she adds a really good level of intensity to the women's division.
Sure.
So good on her, and the match was fine. It's a good way to segue into the next one, but the pacing of this show was very good, and that was the right place for it. So.
Yeah, like Butters is saying, you always do the favor on the way out. It's as old as the territory. So
right.
That's why I would tell all the hardcore Roxanne fans, just calm down. I see all these like parody accounts on social media, and I swear to God, they must be run by 17-year-olds because they're tweeting like me when I was 17 watching professional wrestling with no clue in the world. Guys, if you want to get some real analysis on NXT, this is where it's at.
Right.
On the NXT Night Shift. We'll break it all down. We're going to be brutally honest, too. This guy over here, hold on, the mirror's flipped. This guy over here, he hates WWE. He's a tribalist.
I hate AEW. I like WWE.
Yeah, that's true. We both do, yeah.
Whoa, I can't have Papa H getting upset with me. It would be very bad. So I think
it's not a soda, it is greens. I'm drinking greens. I'm healthy now, JGold. I'm down 25 pounds. We got to keep it off.
That's kind of gross for 10:15 at night on the East Coast. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 9:30 over here. We still got some time.
Yeah, I have to watch my water intake, otherwise I'll be up all night. But anyway, so we're done with that, and we're gonna move on to one of the matches that controversial but really good: Obafemi and Moose. And you and I talked about it during it, and honestly, I know the controversy. I know Moose. Everybody hates Moose. It was a really good match, and Obafemi is the future of everything that WWE has. I can't see a future that dude doesn't come in, have huge matches with Gunther, have huge matches with Cody, where Cody Booker T even doing it is great.
Me.
Yeah. And I think the more they do that, though, the more people are going to shy away, because once they lean into it, everybody kind of loses but AEW still does it. So I guess that's okay. But I think there's no future where Obafemi doesn't have these giant matches with a bunch of people. And look, Moose, great match. Guy put on, he does so much shit that a guy his size probably shouldn't be able to do. And I was just a little confused because I thought that match was title versus title also. But it was only
always advertised that as just the NXT title match.
Okay. So look, he put on a great show as the X Division champ. And I honestly, he can't lose. I mean, Oba can't lose. Like, there's no reason for that guy. I know he lost the North American title, but there's no way that you have a guy that looks like that. Like how they book Gunther. No sense in that dude ever losing. How they booked Asuka, in NXT. No sense in her when she ever losing. So
I was gonna say, and it might be crazy for me to say this, but I think Obafemi might be more explosive and athletic than Gunther is, and that's saying a lot. I love Gunther. Gunther's probably in my top 5 wrestlers right now on the planet, but Obafemi's up there as well. I mean, it just goes to show you. Look what happened before the match even started here. We had an interaction backstage with Obafemi and The Undertaker, the greatest big man of all time.
Yeah.
That just goes to show you what ceiling Obafemi has, if he even does have a ceiling, in the WWE. Because like we and you were texting back and forth during this match, we even said this guy is world champion guaranteed. And I even put a year on it. I think he could be world champion by 2027, like in the next couple of years.
I mean, he's 6'5", like almost like 285. And that they if you look at the Raw and SmackDown rosters, what do you like? Who looks as big as Oba does besides like Gunther or Roman or Jacob? Like, who else is going to be the guy who's that size? And there really isn't enough guys that are going to do what he does. So I think, I do think this year is going to be, he's going to stay in NXT. I know Great Brown Hope is saying 25 before 25 ends. I don't think you need to pull the trigger on him, especially with how raw he came up and like how raw he was. Let him win. Let him never lose until next year, and then when they finally take the title off him, like when Sammy won or whoever won the IC title off Gunther, it'll be that much bigger. So
exactly, like there is a such thing as too much too soon. Like if you're shoving somebody down somebody's throat, they're gonna reject it. So if you put the strap on Obafemi that quick, I think that might be a little too much.
And then you run it, and then you have a guy who's like 26 years old. Well, yeah, I mean Vader is definitely
Sorry,
is
Mike, I'm not old like you guys. I never watched Vader.
Mike, let me tell you something. When I do these interviews with these kids on IWGuide, and they tell me that, I go, so who was your guy growing up? And they tell me like Edge from like 2006.
Yeah,
that's who or they tell me like I started watching
my generation.
Yeah, when people I started watching at the end of the Ruthless Aggression era, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I was at the Garden in 1985. Like,
Did I ever tell you what year I started watching?
What year?
It wasn't a great year. 2011. And
that's when you started watching wrestling?
I started in 2011. Yeah, I was never a kid that watched wrestling growing up. I was in high school when I started watching, yeah.
No, to me, that's a bad year. That's not even like a year to get into wrestling.
Well, the Money in the Bank, the CM Punk, John Cena storyline was a really good story, and that was right after R-Truth and Cena were doing their thing, which that one I did not like. That was at Capital Punishment, but that was the highlight of 2011.
Yeah, I believe it or not, my 6-month anniversary after I got married, I took my wife to the Garden for the Miz and R-Truth versus Cena and The Rock at
Survivor Series. Yep.
And that's one of the first and last times.
Survivor Series.
Oh, that was one of the first and last times my wife ever came with me to a wrestling match. I've talked her into it maybe once or twice throughout the last 15, 20 years, but that was it. Like she was like
Awesome Truth, at least the older version of Awesome Truth.
The bad guy Awesome Truth was really good, and R-Truth as a bad guy was really good.
Fantastic.
And that 2011 was when Rock came. Like I remember just like getting shivers when he came out, and I was in the stand just going nuts. Right. And that was something.
The heat that they were getting during that time period was special. They weren't. No other real tag team was getting that kind of heat in the WWE at that time.
And to our friends in Cleveland, The Miz, highly, highly underrated as far as the years have gone on. His value to everything WWE should never be kind of overlooked with how valuable he was.
He's a PR dream. He just knows how to be in front of a camera. And to be fair, he is a really nice guy in real life. I hate to break the fourth wall here, but
the guys from Indie Wrestling Guide and Two Legs can talk about it. His dad comes to all the AIW shows, and he
wait, what's his dad's name? I forgot.
George.
Mr. Mazzetta. George.
And so he sits there and does his thing, and I think he gets involved in shows, and they like having George over there. So that's kind of awesome that he's there. But so we go from that match, because that match was it was great, and we give Obafemi enough credit.
I was going to say I almost put it on my match of the year list, and the only reason I didn't
for NXT, I would not
yes.
for. I don't know if I would put it out there for anything else just yet, but for NXT, that match was it flowed really well.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to get to is like it didn't compare to the stuff we saw at AEW Revolution by any means, but in its own right on NXT, I definitely think because like you said, it was perfectly paced, the right amount of physicality. I mean, that corner suplex spot that got reversed into another suplex by Obafemi. I mean, come on.
They should call these like mini pay-per-view things something different for NXT. Like they should be like you know how Marvel does special presentations when they showed like Werewolf by Night or whatever. They should call these kind of NXT special presentation or give it something because it's a pay-per-view quality match that is on television. That if you said to me, can you give me a good match that you've seen on TV? Because not all TV shows are great. This was a great match for television. It was just a perfect timing. You know, their chemistry was great. And so, you know, Moose, good on him, man. I know people get upset.
That's a guy I'm not too familiar with either because I predominantly watch WWE and AEW and I'll sprinkle in a little bit of TNA. So I think I've only really seen a handful of Moose matches, but every time I've seen him work, it's been great. And I'm just basing my opinion of Moose on his wrestling ability. I don't care what happened outside of the ring. I'm talking about the wrestler Moose and the entertainer. He entertained me there. And not many people, like you said, can stand eye to eye with Obafemi.
Yeah.
And you actually believe that he could beat Obafemi.
Yeah,
I thought there was a chance.
Yeah, and if anybody on the chat remembers, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a really good run in Ring of Honor, Moose. And I think this whole thing with Moose, every time he did, like people just lost their shit. If I recall, I mean, he had a good run. You know, things just didn't work for, you know, where he is now, and things got exposed. But you know, it is what it is. It is, you know, it's something. But the match was great, and it really did segue well into. I think we was it a backstage with Ricky Saint?
Yeah,
yes.
And Ethan Page, right?
Yeah, and what's it called? What are they called? The Dangerous Trio? I don't remember their name. Those three gals with Fallon Henley and
Fatal Influence.
Yes, whatever. You know, JC Jane is still my favorite out of all three of them. She keeps.
I'm a Fallon Henley girl.
JC Jane keeps trios together. She has been in two of the most.
Does.
Yes. She's been in the most.
Her turn with Gigi was one of the best turns in NXT's history.
It was great. She is like the glue that holds those like women's trios together. Good on JC Jane. I don't know how much time she'll get eventually on the main roster, but she looks like she's having fun in the role she's in. So good on her.
Just keep her in the faction. It's obviously working. You know, maybe she's just not a singles wrestler, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I think she's the glue there. And then I love. Ethan Page is one of my favorites, and the interaction between the two of them. Yeah. And him saying, you know, like, we don't like outsiders is absolutely awesome. Like he just,
finally, Mike, we agreed on something. There we go.
Mike, I thought Wendy Richter would be your favorite.
Oh, God. Hey, by the way, speaking of Mike, make sure you check out his latest blogs over at the Main Event Wrestling Network and check out all the great content coming your way this week at mainevent_net. That's the host YouTube channel for this show going forward. Obviously, things are going to change as we go, but this will always be our home here at the Main Event Wrestling Network.
Hell yeah. And Leilani Kai. All right, I can do that. Leilani Kai's all good. So let's segue. So Ethan Page, and I'm going to tell you this, and we talk about it all over the place. We love, like, all the guys that we talk to on Indie Wrestling Guide and wrestling, we love, if you're going to do a street fight, you better wear pants. And I love it. They both come out in pants. Yep. The pads, the knee pads over the jeans, like the tank top. That's how you do a street fight. Even though if you're going to be in a street fight, you know, I don't know if I probably would wear a little more than just like, you know, I wouldn't strap up some wrestling boots. I'd be wearing, you know, some real shit kickers. But Ethan Page is he's very valuable to what they need, and the maturation of Javon Evans is super important for him to be in a feud like that. So
This is the feud that is going to take Javon Evans to the next level, and Ethan Page is the perfect guy to do that. I mean, if you look at the NXT roster right now, and you were to pick one guy that's main roster ready, Ethan Page is the guy I'm pointing to right away.
Yep.
And like you talked about too with this street fight, I really have enjoyed the feud and the build up to this, and I think this now is the finality of this feud because, I mean, how do you follow up a street fight? But they went straight into physicality. It wasn't rest holds. It was straight punching. They got the chairs involved right away. We even had a table spot before they went to commercial break. And I hate when you have these hardcore matches or stipulation matches and we're just wrestling for the first 10 minutes. Like, what are we doing here? It is a street fight, so make it feel like one.
Go fight.
This felt like a street fight, and the things that Javon Evans can do in that ring, most people cannot. He is incredible.
He took that leap after they did like a cutter spot through the table, and then he jumped. And then he jumped over the top rope to land on Ethan Page, who was against the announcer's table, and flew over the table. The fact that a human being can jump that far and control his body, because he could have missed and pulled the Jay Bougie from ETU this weekend, where he went straight out like this and then straight down. He never even, like, Javon Evans goes out and lands softly and comes in. Jay Bougie went straight down afterwards, but it is it's amazing to watch that dude work. That spot, every time Ethan Page does the punch in the face when he's springboarding, it looks great every time. So they've done that spot like 3 times, and it looks terrific. It was a great way to kind of segue. And now that Evans has his win, yes, you'll roll off Ethan Page. I would tell you this: this sounds silly. If you have an open spot on Mania for one of the 2 days, if you need a filler, I would put Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page in WrestleMania. If not, put it as one of the maybe the co-main event of Stand and Deliver, because that's what it's building to. So give me one of those, and then we're working. But the kings of the factions, NXT, gave us that whatever that was at the end to beat up Jay. I still don't know who those guys are.
You're talking about Timu Shield, Retribution 2.0, whatever you want to call them.
The Shine like Timu Shield guys. I still don't know what that is or who they are.
Why do they have to play music in the background when they're attacking? Do the stupid light thing, but what's with the instrumental in the background? I want to hear them beating somebody's ass. I want to hear the crowd booing. And if you have music playing, there's no heat there. It's just awkward. And that's how I feel about this faction to start. It's like, if you don't give us something definitive here soon with this new faction, you're going to lose everybody. And they might be losing people already with them.
Yeah, I think people are like, you're doing the same thing. You know what would have been awesome? Nexus was awesome, right? So the first Nexus, what they did, them turning and give me some WWE ID guys. Some of these indie guys, put a mask on Big Sam and let him just like start laying people out.
Cartwheel out there,
yeah. As much as I'm not a huge fan of cartwheel-based offense, giving Jack Cartwheel a mask.
I like Jack Cartwheel because I can get drunk at indie shows and just count the cartwheels he does.
Right, and it it seems like the most limited moveset. It's just, what do you do? Cartwheels, that's it? Yeah, my moveset, I do a whole bunch of different kind of cartwheel variations.
I mean, Javon Evans kind of does cartwheels, but that guy defies gravity sometimes.
Yes, and he is, if you gave that dude, for after watching him on Evolve, Cappuccino Jones, Big Sam, Marcus Mathers, if you give those guys masks and let them go loose on different divisions, let's say Big Sam shows up in all the heavyweight divisions. Let's say Mathers and Jones beats up the tag team division.
Right.
Give me another guy who's going to do kind of the smaller, light heavyweight or bantam, whatever they do. Get those guys in there, cruiserweights that are ID guys who do crazy indie moves, and then have them do a quick hits. Like, you don't have to give me like a whole production. Have them run in. Like Marcus does a 450, let him do a 450. Big Sam, he does a splash. Let him put that big body on somebody and then
play
leave.
The hits.
Yeah. Let Cartwheel do that move where he does that stalling over the top rope, elbow, and let him run out. And then you're building something. Instead of every week, now I have to assume the same 4 guys are going to wear some, balaclava and then run in and look stupid. That's where you're going to lose it. So, that kind of pulled some of my momentum from that
That's
match.
the thing. You got to give them something, and you got to give them something fast. Just attacking people at the end of matches really isn't telling us anything, because I believe they also attacked Obafemi after one show, and then there was never really a follow-up there. So I don't know if they're like creating the babyface NXT Avengers by attacking guys one by one and setting up a 4-on-4 tag down the line, but that's still nothing I really want to see. And I do know one of those guys that is in that faction is Cutler James, and he's actually on that WWE LFG show. So that's what's kind of intriguing to me. I like that they're giving guys that they're putting on the reality show a spot on television. I think that's going to benefit him, but the rest of the group, I don't know. I'm going to have to see more from everybody else.
You know what? That's the only show that I have not watched one episode. All I see are the stuff that's on Twitter, and I have not seen one episode. And I thought it was Let's Fucking Go, and I'm like, that's a great name for a TV show.
Well, it is kind of like they allude to it. It's a play
good
on Let's Fucking Go.
Thank God.
Legends forever. Great.
Then that weird alien lady who was supposed to be Michelle McCool came on, and I was like, who the hell is that? I thought like her face got swapped by some kind of alien, but she fell victim to the face swapping, like Charlotte Flair might have. So
yeah, that'll happen.
But okay, so we get through that, and we get to now it's time for the main event. I think the one that I have been obsessed with, and I have said to you on a few of these, the person who has stood out, even though the fanfare was for Julia, has been Stephanie Vaquer. There has been nobody who has stood out more than everything she does. You can't take your eye off her in every way. Like, she just captures what it means to come in, and like everybody wants to watch her. I thought Julia was going to be that girl, and she is not that girl.
Not yet, at least. I would agree with you. Definitely not yet. And I was saying the same thing on OTM, that Stephanie's star was just shining a little bit brighter than Julia's was. And that's okay, because both women are very talented. But like you were saying, JGold, Stephanie does it all, and she demands your attention. You will not be looking at your phone. You will not be scrolling social media when Stephanie Vaquer is wrestling. And the unfortunate thing about this match is I believe it started about 14 minutes before it was supposed to end, because like you said earlier, there's a hard cutoff now that they're on the CW. So it was kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to see these two really go after it like they did last year. But I still think that this could potentially set up a rematch down the road. Maybe they throw Jordan Grace into the mix, but I'm not worried about Julia whatsoever. Like, I know what you're saying here. She really hasn't, it hasn't really connected quite yet in NXT, I guess you could say, but she still works great, and she still has an aura to her, and I think eventually she is going to figure it out.
If you gave me this match at WrestleMania weekend, I would have and let it build even more, because I really thought they did a good job with the build. Even showing Julia last night on Raw, they had her in the front row. She just was stunning looking. She just looked regal and championship like. If you gave me a little more build.
I do have breaking news, actually, that has to do with Julia. The rumors are true. She did sustain an injury, so she is going to be missing some time going forward.
So that's why she lost. Okay.
Yeah, so this makes a lot more sense on why. I mean, it probably has a little bit to do with both, because I don't think you can deny the fact that Stephanie is drawing the eyeballs more than Julia is. I mean, look at the Royal Rumble. I think Stephanie got the louder reaction of the two.
Yeah, and I would love to know what the future of the belts is going to be, because as John Thorne over at AIW said to me once, when Josh Bishop had both titles, it's a very cool visual, and you want that as your champ.
It is, but it's
to
tough.
Hold both belts. Yep, and it makes you look as strong as possible, and you're holding on to those two belts. But what the women's division is so large in NXT that her belt, I understand they have the intercon, whatever it is, the women's
North American women's
champion.
So
Stephanie's got it. So they only have one belt.
Yeah.
Two belts. So
Two belts.
I'm wondering what you do, because you have even the tag belts are only all three brands. So what are we doing? Like, where are we going with this? Are you going to throw it into a tournament again? I would not do another tournament.
No.
Yeah,
you can't do too much tournaments, because that's also not really WWE's forte. That's something for the indies or something for AEW to do tournaments. But when WWE does do them, like King of the Ring, they do them pretty well. But I agree, that's not something I would want to see. And I think if Julia is going to be, let's just say she's not there for WrestleMania weekend, then I feel like your really only solution is doing Jordan Grace versus Stephanie Valkyrie. And do you put both those titles on the line, or maybe have Stephanie drop that North American title on an NXT to like Azaria or someone along those lines?
There you go. That now you're thinking, but what about what did they do when Keith Lee won both belts during COVID?
He ended up dropping the North American title to someone on NXT, I think.
He lost the belt in a match?
Or did he relinquish it? Chat, let us know. There's 62 of you in here right now, so I know all of you can hit that subscribe
62!
Button.
Hell yeah! Look at all these people who are hanging out late night. Thank you, all of you, for coming on. That is great.
Hey, the new kings of NXT are here, baby.
Kings of late night. That's what's up. You want to, instead of putting on the news or any of that other crap, you want to call in, and you want to tune in and listen to us yabber about NXT, because NXT is actually a lot of fun.
It's a fun brand to talk about.
It is a fun brand. Easy
I
think also, and I'm going to put this out here now, we have a lot of contacts from Indie Wrestling Guide and places of guys who are in WWE ID, and I am hoping, I'm going to put this out in the atmosphere, that we could get some special guests on here that can give us some of those highlights. I will be working the phones furiously to see if we can make that happen, because I think we can. It is late night. No one's traveling for business, so to speak, in the wrestling community on a Tuesday. They normally travel Wednesday for Thursday, Friday. So, you guys are out there, expect something from me. I'm gonna holler at you, down the line.
Hell yeah. And speaking of phones, guys, we're trying to get a little bit of a system set up here for the show format.
Yes.
We are going to accept call-ins. So as you can see at the bottom of our ticker right now, all you really have to do if you have a question or just want to chat about something in particular that happened on NXT, just leave a comment saying, hey, let me in, or raise your hand in the comment section, and then I will DM you, or you could DM me, and then you just have to send me your email, and I can bring you onto our feed live anytime.
Yep.
So that is something we are going to hopefully do in the near future.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really fun element for everybody who's jumping in. If you want to get, you want to talk some NXT with us and put in your thoughts, we will answer all questions and all comers. I'm sure some of you are gonna crap around, but we'll handle those as well. Where's that dude who, when we did the mixer, was all about talking to Triple H? Where did that guy go?
Yeah, I know. I think
Sergio?
He is a main event subscriber, so he should be here, but he might be
Sergio.
overseas. Half of our audience is overseas, which is crazy. A lot of listeners over in Scotland.
The Indie Wrestling Guide is the number 2 most listened to wrestling podcast in Norway. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, we got some. We've leaned heavily into our Norwegian crowd. So
do we know who the number 1 is?
It's not us. I know. Maybe it's Meltzer. Who knows? The Norwegians might like Meltzer more than us, but
First NXT Night Shift shirt. Where is Sergio? Yeah, we might have to get merch too. We do have a logo, so we have a
and
merch
thanks
site.
to Mike to Will from Gorilla Press. Will hooked us up. He worked on it all weekend, and because I went to him with we kind of threw this together. And we're like, let's go. And we went in and talked to Will, and Will put this together for us. So thanks, man. Will and Gorilla Press is the best.
Shout out.
There it is. Your upper. That's going to be my upper right-hand corner, and yours probably also. So
that's a good point from the Great Brown Hope. Sergio probably is just in a meeting with Triple H right now.
He was adamant on that episode that that Triple H was only thinking about himself.
Yeah, I wonder if Triple H was watching NXT tonight, because honestly, dude, it was a really good show, and I sent this out on our X account. I thought it was almost at pay-per-view PLE standard. Like, at least the Oba match, the opening match, and Javon and Ethan, those are 3 pay-per-view quality matches, in my opinion.
If you gave me this card as Stand and Deliver, it would be I would say yes, that's exactly what you were doing. You mixed in some of the TNA, joint stuff. I think Stand and Deliver, you will see more of that integration.
We need like a Worlds Collide kind of thing for Stand and Deliver, I think.
I don't see why they wouldn't. And there's some talent in TNA that is not being used, and I know people shit on him, but imagine, and I like Brian Myers, imagine him and Eddie Edwards, in a tag team ladder match with Fraxium, they have guys. They have guys who can absolutely show up and run a WWE style. Should they need
they
to.
got history.
Yeah. So all those guys. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Dolph Ziggler come on. Nemeth come on and do his thing.
I can't believe they haven't done that yet.
Maybe Nemeth is like, look, I'm good. Maybe he's like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I did it. He did it for. He was at 20 years
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we don't really. I wouldn't get too excited if Show the World music hit. I'd be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, most people. I mean, it's starting to fade. Where you're like, yeah, whatever. He's Nick Nemeth over, wherever. The fact that guy's got what the CMLL title is wild. That they
he's got a bunch of titles, and he's now the co-host of Busted Open, which I know Busted Open gets a lot of heat online, but I do listen sometimes to Busted Open to specific episodes, and I think Nemeth does a good job.
Yeah, I would love a weekly, getting paid to do a weekly radio, show that does. I mean, it's better than nothing. So good on Nick. So
there's two guys that host, and I always thought about this for maybe a couple of us at the network. The Busted Open does give out like part-time jobs, and there's like these two guys. I think they're called Jonathan Hood and Justin LeBar, and they cover wrestling. They've been covering wrestling for a while, but they only work the Sunday shift. So they come on every Sunday morning, and they're part-time employees. I'm like, I'll take a part-time job. I'll work Sundays if you give me a show.
Is Busted Open its own channel, or is it?
It is.
It
is.
They
finally are their own channel.
Holy shit!
That's what we're trying to be over here at the Main Event Wrestling Network, folks.
Listen, if you want an overnight show, I have heard there are several people that I know who could jump on at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning and schmooze till the morning. Do something like that. Ideas are always flowing.
We used to have a podcast that was based out of the UK, so that could have been our overnight show. We could just bring them back.
Yeah, that actually, we could find anybody who's watching from the UK right now wants to do a show at 5 o'clock in the morning. We'll
bring you in. Hey.
Yeah. Listen, it is what it is. But now I think as we start coming to the close, I have a question for you, and we're going to see. I think each week we'll do this.
Sure.
Where is this going now? So next week we have Sol Ruca versus Chelsea. Ooh. We have Ricky Saint and Ridge Holland. But what's next? So Obafemi doesn't. He's got rid of Moose. Now you have Stephanie with the title. Ethan Page is out of the feud with Javon Evans. Where do we go from here? So I think if anybody on the chat too has some ideas, but Kyle, where do you think? Where's it going? Do you even? Is there the slightest hint that Chelsea loses next week? What do you see?
I mean, that matchup itself is perfect in my opinion. Matching up Sol Ruca with Chelsea Green. I mean, just the work that Chelsea's been doing lately, it's been fantastic. But no, I don't see Sol Ruca having a chance in this one. It's just going to be a good showing for her and elevate her, because eventually I think Piper Niven might just turn on Chelsea Green, and maybe she's the one to take that title off her at WrestleMania. But for like the NXT title, now that Oba has passed Moose, I think he's just kind of waiting for this Trick and Eddie Thorpe feud to finish up, because I believe eventually, because who else is it going to be? It's got to be Trick Williams to get that title off Obafemi. You can maybe convince me on a Wesley, but I feel like they've really dropped the ball the last couple months with the momentum that Wesley once had.
And I also think, and to your point, I am not a huge Culling fan, and I think
I am.
I think they're sucking the energy out of the family, the D'Angelo family.
Good.
I want to see Tony D's next steps should have been after he lost that up
Tony
to
D'Angelo. Yeah. That's what we call him.
You guys are insane. Tony D is the man.
You're never gonna convince me on that one.
My favorite Tony D moment is when he was on top of that pillar eating spaghetti, like he set up his own, like while watching the other matches. I think that is
not
great.
Even a real Italian,
right? I think he's from Massachusetts.
This is coming from someone that's a real Italian. My last name's Gagliardi. Damn it.
Yeah, we need to find out if I like it. I think the gimmick was funny. I like when I like him and Stacks together. But I do see their momentum. The Culling has kind of taken it away. And talk about four people who I honestly don't. I don't understand any of it as far as the Culling goes, but
Sean Spears is an underrated wrestler of mine personally. In ring wise, not the greatest. Like I can't be like, oh, that Sean Spears match. You got to go back and watch it. But I think he has a purpose in NXT, and he's kind of cultivating that next crop of talent, because most of these guys in the Culling are just ID guys, not ID guys, NIL people.
Mm-hmm.
And like 2/3 of them, I think, are NIL guys. So I think this is perfect for someone that's brand new to the business to be mentored by a guy like Sean Spears, who he hasn't won a lot of titles, but he has ventured off into other companies and he's experienced.
You want to know a funny fact about Sean Spears? I was obsessed in like the early 2000s with the, as everyone else, I think some like my age and who watch the indies back then, but I was obsessed with finding out who was coming from OVW and the minors to WWE. Like, who are they going to bring up? And I was seeing these like Shelton Benjamin and Brock and, watching these guys. And Sean Spears is Canadian and was a staple of Canadian independent wrestling in like the mid 2000s, like 2005. Wow. And I remember seeing like, cause I was always online, like lordsofpain.net and all these different boards. And I was
back in the
like,
day.
Yeah, listen, that was the shit. Like in the late 90s, being able to tell people
about that life. Yeah.
So being able to tell people what's going to happen like the next day or who's debuting, like, because it was all on Lords of Pain was like my favorite.
Nostradamus.
That's right. It was like my favorite part. And seeing Sean Spears, and I forgot what his name, if it was, it might have been Sean Spears, but I'm not sure. Honestly. Yeah. And he just seeing, they would show him and I'm like, who's this guy? And he was everywhere. And he mid 90s, like to 2000, I mean, mid 2000s. Yeah. He's been around for a very long time. And when WWE brought him in as, the Ty Dillinger stuff, and he went back to the Spears, but like the Ty Dillinger stuff was working too.
It was.
I was like, oh, this guy's been around and can do a lot of stuff. So yeah, I get it. I know he's old now and people are like, whatever, but I need to see that develop a little more. It can't
give it time. That's all I'm going to tell you with that one. I'll give it a chance at least.
I'll give it a little bit of a chance for next week. We'll talk about that then. And I mean, I think I'm looking forward to what happens next week. I'm looking forward to the future of this show. Everyone who's watching, again, remember next week, if you shoot us a comment, you want to get in, you want to do, you want to talk and you want to call into us. It's great. If you want to just comment. But honestly, I think, Kyle, I think for our first episode, I think we had some fun and I think that people are enjoying what they see. So, everybody come on back. We'll do this again.
I think we're definitely going to have to do this again, JGold, but let me get to the plugs as we are going to sign off for our debut episode of NXT Night Shift. Guys, if you want to support the Main Event Wrestling Network, we do have merch available. My boy JGold over here just won a Main Event crew neck, and you can go check that out at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. We are currently at 59 subscribers, thanks to our friend earlier that subscribed. So we are 41 away from 100. And if you want to keep up with show information, as we live tweet too, that will probably be a thing going forward. Live tweet every NXT. Maybe he'll take it over next week. Who knows? But if you want to follow us, we are on X at NXT Night Shift. And of course, shout out to the Main Event Wrestling Network that is hosting this show and hosts our podcast at Main Event _net is where you're going to check out all that great stuff. Just a great group of guys that we have coming together to create wrestling content for the everyday wrestling fan.
And and if we were going to do some plugs, check us out. Check me out over at JGold12 on the Twitter X machine and the Indie Wrestling Guide, IWGuide 1 on Twitter, IWGuide on Blue Sky, and IWGuide on Instagram. Check us out. This week we did a review of the ETU show Tidal Wave, which was a 8-team tag team tournament from the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. And I did not get my ass kicked by Dom Guarini, but I did get a sweatshirt. So check it out and check this show out again next week. We are really, really appreciative for everybody coming on and joining us. And let's get some rest, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have no rest because, early work tomorrow. And then Thursday, I'm heading down to Indianapolis for the Big Ten basketball tournament. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's another thing I wanted to bring up for people that are, looking forward to the next On the Mark Wrestling podcast episode. I am not 100% sure if I'm going to be there on Thursday, but I can tell you that my wonderful co-host Ian and Tucky will be there. They're going to be breaking down AEW Revolution, talking about that main event from Monday Night Raw between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And you can follow the show at Pot on the Mark. But yeah, guys, It was a pleasure hanging out with you for episode 1 of NXT Night Shift. Make sure you show some love and give us a follow on social media.
And now it's time to punch out and go to bed. So the night shift is over.
The night shift is over, everybody. We will see you for episode 2 next week.
See ya.